Hello, all you fucks out there in YouTube land. Lord Crocosquirrel here with Ms. Anthrope
Hello, everybody.
and special guest Meownic from the
Hello,
Hidden
hello.
Levels.
Hey,
Wave hello to the nice folks. All right. So, we are here to have a go at a developer by the name of Heed or Hede or whatever the hell he wants it pronounced. Um, in English, it would actually be properly pronounced Heed. Because if you have a vowel, a
But his
consonant, and a
version,
vowel, you're actually you actually lengthen the vowel, the first vowel, with very few exceptions. Head would be one of them. Anyway, and a little stunt that he pulled, trying to protect his crap games by revoking keys for reviewers that took too long to kind of work on it here. Followed by the deleting of threads and in his Steam forums and etc. First off, let's have everybody's thoughts on that, shall we? Yannick,
okay.
you first. You're the guest.
well, it's just I, I just see it over and over and over again now. That it's not even funny. I know exactly what it is. Anyone's allowed to enter onto Steam, so you get all sorts. You get the professionals right down to the people right at the bottom, and the ones at the bottom love to pull as much dodgy things as they can, and that's quite clearly what it is. Free asset flip games. Well, one of them is completely dodgy, like GameTube, and how he gets the keys from other third party
Yeah.
people. It's just so much there. But essentially, he just completely.
Well, it was as far as I was as far as I was thinking it was a complete ass. That was a complete ass move. But that's me. Um, how about you, Kitty?
Um, you see, it's not the norm revoking keys after giving them away for review because and Meownic can confirm this or deny this, it's a marketing tactic. So these keys are to be considered as already not there and non-existent. And there is an expectation of a review that unless there is an exchange of emails or something prior to this, uh, there is no time limit for the review to happen if it happens at all.
If the
That's
game if the game don't get covered, nothing you can do.
uh, sometimes I know that Croc has received a key via email or something, via publisher directly, via PR person, with a request for a certain date. That can be, I would like this before this date or not until that date.
Well, an embargo
Sometimes
is a
it's
different issue.
wait for the release. Yes, there's the embargo thing, and some keys come without the embargo. Feel free to cover it whenever.
Mhm.
But some people request if you could do this before the release, we would appreciate such and such.
Generally,
And
like it.
it's usually a request, not an imposition.
All right. So we have our.
That's as far as I know.
So let's. Well, so in so doing, let's tell ourselves a little story here. We're gonna take this all. We're gonna take this game right here. This is a game that I made back in 2011. And uh, you can actually see its release date, March the 31st of 2011. You get it's you can do you get a whole bunch of possible playthroughs, and you know 5 minutes at a time. You could probably throw this on a mobile platform, and it'd be great. I never bothered, but that's not the issue today. Okay. There you go. There's just a bunch of various screenshots. It's a catapult.
Cat puns are fun.
Of course, cat. Well, it wouldn't have been a proper cat game if I hadn't made that pun. So, and yes, I did it. Yes, I did that deliberately because a lot of people got a really good laugh out of it when it was released. So let's say for a moment that I've got this game that I've put together, and I want to put it on Steam for, I don't know, $2. That's probably a little high for a game that is quite this simplistic. My team and I went through a lot to get it done, so we're going to at least try and have something to split up. Uh, so we're not trying to work off 60 odd cents per unit sold, trying to figure out how to split that up. Ooh, that would be a mess, I think, and actually probably less once we get the publisher involved. So let's do this. I have a game. I made it. I want to put it up for whatever it would be, whatever might actually sell it. Now, most normal folks in the industry don't self-publish like you get with a lot of folks on Steam. We go to a publisher, and Mr. Meownic has some experience in this area. What goes on from the time that I contact you over this game to when it gets moved over to the PR department?
Well, I can't give away too many secrets, obviously.
Well, obviously, see,
but,
No,
but no,
just
generally speaking,
general
yeah,
idea.
no,
let's have a general idea of how this works.
but it's kind of different to me because, like, the gaming industry has evolved so much from back then to now, like from 2011. Because back then there was no like Idea Xbox, no Steam Direct, and
Ugh.
no
Well, no,
PlayStation.
I made it in 2011.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand it to you. I'm gonna hand it to you as a publisher tomorrow. Just as an
But
example.
let me
I'm not
just
actually gonna
let me
do
just
that.
yeah. Well, as I'm
No,
saying, back then,
it's just
a
a
publisher
hypothesis.
was a certain back then because indie developers couldn't reach out to Xbox because they didn't, you couldn't just walk up to them like, "Hi, yeah, I got this game back then." Publishers more important. But anyway, fast forward into now, there's not really a need for a publisher per se. But that being said, publishers do have a lot of contacts in the industry, from having lots of media contacts to having experience. Which again, indie developers, like if you try just going self-publishing, it's still a risky maneuver because you don't have a lot of contacts, you don't have experience. And again, one half of the battle is making the game, and that's one big battle in itself. So, like, then you gotta try and do the marketing by yourself, which is extremely difficult. So yeah, you go to a publisher, they mostly handle the marketing, from making the store page to handling Steam work to handling, you know, everyday business things such as PR and
And
marketing.
and what is your usual cut from this?
I'm not allowed to disclose that. Sorry.
But you do take a cut,
Yeah, yeah, of
okay?
course.
Because you have to eat too, same
Yeah,
way I do.
May I ask a question to Meownic?
yep.
I will play the role of the final consumer, and I am well known for buying both cat games and visual novels. So I like to watch reviews of the games that I intend to buy.
Well, that's the PR section, and I think that's
So
next.
yes, how will I get to see these reviews happen?
Well, it's generally my job to, like over the last few years or so, I've got a lot of contact. Like I made a lot of contacts, become friends with a lot of media such as Crocosquirrel and stuff, and build bonds with them. So essentially, anything I send over to them is always going to be like a lifetime connection. It's very important that both of us stay on good terms. it's both important that we respect each other, and it's very important, to understand each other very well.
Okay.
And
That gets you in the hands of
so,
YouTubers and the gaming media and other such critters.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and
yeah,
send keys out to them all.
I don't know if you can disclose this. There is a ratio of amount of keys related to the price of the game, or it's just a fixed amount of keys that are given for reviewers?
No, I generate as many as I can to the needs of how many reviewers there are. On my list, I got the reviewers'
Mm-hmm.
names, and then their likes, their dislikes. I'll filter it all down to those who match the game, which takes a long time, and then eventually I'll end up with a solid number of how many reviewers actually fit the game. Because beforehand I do ask their likes and stuff. So then when I come to that final number, I'll generate X amount of keys, which as you can on Steam you can generate as many keys as you can. Of course, they capped it now. You, it's still a ridiculous amount of keys. You can generate like 50,000, 100,000 without too much
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't do that for a $2 game. So it would also be your job to
The
set.
more people you can get it up to, the better. Really, that's you know.
The flip side of that is that you also have control over the number, over what keys are put, what keys are printed, and the how many and for what purpose. So now, as a publisher, what would be your position on revoking keys?
The only time a key would be revoked personally, and as most professional publishers would say, is if it ends up on G2A, because that's like breaking a few things there.
Yeah, well, that's breaking G2A's rules, as well as the rules for most sites that
Any
offer
third kind of
that, that
dodgy.
offer that that offer that offer keys, and I can be very clear on that. If I put a key that I got on, say, Keymailer, over onto G2A or Kingwin or other similar sites, I stand to lose any chance of contact with Keymailer or Move It or any one of several other places. If I got a reputation for that, or even if somebody found out I did it one time, PR people would scatter.
It's in their terms of service. First off, it's
Well,
in their terms of service. You
if
know that you are not supposed to do that.
if I, as a reviewer, engaged in that sort of behavior, then I'd probably be shot dead. I could kill my career
This
stone dead like
is
that.
career suicide.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I as a developer wouldn't
It's
do that. I as a developer wouldn't revoke keys at all. Of course, given the caveat that I made that Meownic here just made. If I found a bunch of my keys on G2A, I'd probably can them. In fact, I suggested to Zaxter that he do exactly that, which he eventually did. But mostly because thousands of his keys coming from Indie Gala wound up on Penguin, and he
yeah,
makes and he
people.
makes nearly nothing out of them. So, and Zaxter's got kids to feed too. All
Yeah,
right.
but it was a bundle, and someone bought those keys and was selling, and nothing was going to Zaxxer. The idea of giving the keys for the bundle was for promotion.
Mm-hmm. Which didn't happen because most of the keys went to some idiot. Anyway,
Yeah.
now back to the marketing thing. You also do PR.
Yeah, that's just
Uh,
short-term marketing essentially.
yeah. So how does that process work, and how does that fit here?
Well, marketing would be something like over a form of 6 months, which is like something like an MMORPG where it needs constant support, constant tweets, constant attention. But PR is just a short-term thing, whereas like a media blast where I send out keys to the press, maybe 2 press releases, 3 press releases, just reminding them. And I mean that's really it. There's not too much. It's more of a short-term, quick date. over some, like, a date over many months. And
but
that's pretty much the easiest way to describe it.
and the same thing, and I assume that the same thing applies on the PR level as the publishing level. You send out a bunch of keys, you don't revoke
Yeah,
them because that could actually turn into a problem for the publisher and or developer.
yeah.
But
For example, Meownic, if there is a game that you believe has potential and you are not only invested because you have your cut of the game, you would like that game to succeed. And lots of people give negative reviews. Do you contact these people?
No, I mean, their opinion is their opinion at the end of the day. If they don't like it, then
Exactly.
it's good because it gives constructive criticism to the developer to go
well,
ahead and improve the game.
sometimes they do. If you're talking about Steam reviews,
Okay.
that tends to not be the case.
Mm.
YouTube reviewers are held
Okay.
to something of a higher standard.
I was playing the role of the final consumer. Let me play the role of the occasional reviewer of as the co-pilot of your reviewer. Uh, Reviews are opinions, like Meownic said. So, and opinions, they can be of any kind of people just don't like the genre, people didn't like the game, people didn't like something or the game mechanics or something like that. But it's an opinion.
Yeah,
It
I
is an
mean,
opinion, and if you don't like the opinion, this is my opinion. If your opinion, I am entitled to my opinion. Everybody else is entitled to theirs. Okay.
Exactly.
And
Uh,
if you must go here, at least try and be civil about it.
yeah, don't start climbing trees. Uh,
So,
so, the other question that I have is uh, how transparent the communication has to be in order to be successful.
you always gotta make sure you're talking. I mean, if something's not right, you've got to make sure that the like, let's say in this case there was no, in the case
Mhm.
of the Heroes of Hexalug or whatever the hell it's called, there was no kind of communication saying, hey, could you please at least try and cover this game in X amount of time. It wasn't that. It was just bam, key revoked, done, end. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
communication's always going to be very important. I mean, that's the whole thing of it, really.
well, that's how you could break careers based. You could build or break careers based on your communication. If we're being honest.
Yeah.
But that was the thing that actually got my attention when you brought it when you brought this to me originally. Okay, he did this, and there was no communication. The
None
communication that
at
did
all.
happen was after the fact. And then, what
I
was
mean,
your
I,
answer
I,
when you emailed him? What did he
I,
What did he say when you emailed him over it?
I didn't get no emails whatsoever. The only reason I found out was through the game post. So I literally had to backtrack all the way through his to his store to find out. So then I'm like, I'm trying to question him on it, and his reply was just okay, 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 or whatever the hell it was, which is just crap.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's kind of silly. Uh, so I seem to recall you saying that you had emailed him about the key at some point, and he gave you he said you could have a new one with a strict time limit.
It was actually in the post, the kind of store page post, where he said, "Fine, I can give you a new key, but only if it's done in 7 days," which I think is just kind of crazy.
Well, and I don't know how many reviewers do you know that actually keep little slush piles for filler when new releases are slow.
Well, everyone does.
So I'm guilty of that, and I know you are. Uh,
Everyone does. It's just, and the thing is, giving someone a key, like, it's always going to be there in their accounts. If you revoke it, it kind of defeats the whole point of giving them a free key in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could be looking through my Steam library thinking, oh, right, I want to change it up right now and just see what's free flow, and oh, look at this game come out and blah blah blah, but it won't be in the library because it's revoked. So what's that? Like, I don't get the whole
And
thing.
then it makes folks mad too, because you got to think about it. Who pays the reviewers? Who's paying? Who's
the
paying the average reviewers?
The reviewers are not actually paid. They
Kitty?
survive by their reputation.
And let's let Meownic field the question, because this was actually his. This one was his. Who pays folks like me who review games?
I mean, advertisers and the fans from donations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no money changing hands between the developer, the publisher, and the reviewer, without an explicit contract, of course.
I would say there can be exceptions where you say, okay, if you could promote my material, I'll pay you. And I mean, then I'd be more inclined to say, okay, yeah, obviously it'll be done in 7 days. I mean, if I was paid, I'd do it within 24 hours myself easily. But, that's because it's simple, and then you really do try and break your back there because you're being paid. But if you're not being paid, it's harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you got you're outside of reviewing and stuff. You don't make much money, so you got to have a job or something. And then with that full-time job, then there's other things going on in life, like where you got to clean your house and stuff. And it's ridiculous.
Well,
I can't.
You got to clean your house. You got to take care of the kids, and for those of us that have them, actually feed them so they're not too whiny and or dead.
No, you have to feed yourself. Everybody has to consume food.
Mm.
Do the grocery shopping, yeah.
Since July or wherever the hell it was, and there's been like 6,000, 7,000 games released. So, and like the kind of even small YouTubers get sent so many games. It's really impossible to just keep up with them all. It is. There's no way. It's not humanly possible to cover the games. It's just not.
Okay, so. And there, by the way, last year, 2017, was 7,667 games according to Steam Spy, which is, frankly, a fuckload. And Greenlight was even in the mix up until like April or May, or somewhere in that neighborhood. I forget exactly, but I could go back and look at when my last Greenlight gathering was. But that wouldn't necessarily make any difference at this point.
I'm going to tell you, like with 8,000 games released in a year, that's like 21 games per day on average, which is just. I mean, obviously you won't get sent every single game, but even if you were sent like 1/3 of that, which is pretty common, that's like still 7 games a day.
I can't do 7 games a day. Most days I don't get a game. They don't send me a key. But when I get a really big day, I've gotten as many as 15.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're requests, other times people just send them, and I will get to them as quickly as I can. But ultimately, you wind up with a review queue. I mean, that's been my experience.
So the way I look at it is that if the reviewer doesn't like cover your game in the first place, then I mean, why was that? Like, you need to make your game more attractive. The pitch of the PR person or publisher needs to make their pitch more attractive to the reviewer, and it's just if the game's not interested, then that's it. You've got a failure of a game. I don't know how else to bluntly put it.
Okay. Now, back to our friend here, Mobile Food Bandits, for a minute.
Yep.
Okay. I have a suggested price of it for $2, but I'm not the one that's going to make the final pricing decision. You are, as the publisher and the PR people. So, what price would you have put on it?
I would say $1.
$1. Okay. So I'm asking for too much, and somewhere in the we'll probably meet somewhere in the middle on an actual price tag. But that's communication between me as the developer and you as the publisher.
Yeah.
Okay, if I skip the middleman, I get to keep more of the money. I'm still going to lose X amount to Steam, whatever that happens to come out to. But ultimately, if the game doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. And then as the publisher, you would actually be responsible for the $100 or whatever it is to put it on
Yeah.
to push it through
Yeah.
Steam Direct. So you have an
Precisely.
investment. You have a direct money investment, regardless. Okay,
Yeah.
you send out a pile of keys and you get probably about I don't know what
See, and this
10
is
or
where
25%,
like
10 to 25% return.
but this is where the problem is. Like if you don't have like someone experienced with marketing and stuff, you don't know like a lot of the reviewers and stuff. You don't have connections with them, so you gotta blast like all your keys out there in the first place, and they ain't gonna know who you are. They might think, oh, your game's like not worth covering. So even if they do get a key, they probably won't cover in the first place, and you probably don't even know them anyway. You know, I've spent like a lot of time over the years watching YouTubers and seeing what kind of games they cover, and again, I've talked with them to ask what kind of genres they like and stuff, so I already know what they like and what they don't like. Whereas, you know, if you've spent like 6 years developing in a cave, not really having much time because developing games is time consuming in itself, you will know who covers what, like what type of people you're looking for. So you're really just kind of blindly going on Keymailer, just sending all the keys out. So I mean, what else do you kind of expect from that? Of course, like no one's really going to cover the game, especially if it looks like shit. Which is, I mean, case in point. Sorry,
Well,
I didn't ask about swearing. I hope it's okay.
nah,
Please
you're
beep
fine.
it out loud. All right, cool.
Mobile food madness doesn't look great anyway, but that's not the issue. It's not everybody's favorite game.
I
Uh,
kind of like the cat on there actually. It
well,
would interest me because of the cats, but
that would be a different thing.
Yeah.
Some
I
people
would
like
buy
visual
because
novels
of
and
the
cats.
cats.
like,
Yeah, visual novels and cats, so I would probably buy it.
But that's a small niche. This
without
was,
sounding like a douche,
Yeah.
I'd feel more inclined to cover your game over Heroes of Hexaluca.
which is sad.
That's
That's
just what
actually
I see
very,
from the
very, very sad.
screenshots.
That is a very sad day. um,
I mean,
anyway,
let's face it, a lot of people are going to look at the screenshots and just be pulled off instantly. And the second thing they do is look at the trailers. Third thing, they'll look at the pitch, but you ain't got a lot of time to get the reviewer's attention or content creators' attention.
well, even if you get
Oh, I
people to
have a question.
have an extra season match.
The trailer is made by the publisher or by the developer when they have a PR person.
It can depend on the agreements. Basically, sometimes
Hmm.
the developer will say, "Oh well, you're the publisher, you got lots of connections. Would you be able to help me out?" And yeah, that's okay. I know like lots of trailer makers, so but sometimes the developers already make the trailers themselves, so that's cool as well. So
See, I wouldn't make a
I
trailer
mean,
for. I wouldn't make a
it
trailer
it
for
can
this
be
to save your life.
it can be really
Uh,
flexible. It can be the developer or the publisher, but ideally the publisher is going to know what's going to stick out more and from past experience and know what's really catchy because again you need to be really catchy on the trailers, which falls into marketing. So
Hmm.
as a consumer, I would say that lots of opinions are formed by the trailers. And if the trailer shows some gameplay, it helps.
Well, see, as a consumer, on the on my consumer end, I'll look at the screenshots, and if the screenshots interest me, like Meownic said, I'll go and look at the trailer
yeah,
and probably look at the marketing pitch that's down below. Um, Depending on how interested I am, I might look at the trailer first, or I might look at the marketing blurb first. It's just it's a balance question. Um, if your game looks good, if your game looks really good, I'm gonna go. and it's not like a visual novel, I'll go poke my nose in on the trailer just real quick because I know there's going to be gameplay, or I can reasonably expect gameplay. Um, the thing that gets me is when people put up like 6 or 8 trailers. I'm going, no, 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 no. I'm not going to sit through all that.
Hello, did I cut out then? I can't Hey.
So that leads us to that
There
leads
has to
us.
be there has to be a balance between the information on the game, the screenshots, and the trailer.
But it all falls down to really, if it's crap, you can't really market crap
Yeah,
because there's only
crap
so much a
goes.
publisher and marketing in itself can do.
Mm-hmm. So let's move on a little bit more. PR is essentially short-term marketing, and the chances that, and I'm guessing that the publisher would be the ones to send the keys out to the PR people.
Yeah,
Usually,
they generate X amount of keys for the PR/PR firm.
mm-hmm. So that's the relationship there. I have a number. I talked to a couple different PR firms. Some of them like me, some of them don't. Some of them will specify that, well, I don't give a shit how long it takes you. Just kind of do it eventually, if you would please. And if I'm taking what they think might be a little too long, I get a little. But they put a bug in my ear to. They send me an email saying, "Well, we're glad you're enjoying the game, but have we done any coverage for it? Do you plan to?" That kind of thing.
And that's fine to me. Just saying, well, thanks for
Thanks for at
taking a
least
look at the game
considering
or
it.
accepting. Yeah.
So, just to kind of follow that up, now we have the reviewer, and most reviewers that I can think of would be the folks like me who aren't being paid professionally to do this shit. We're more or less what's in it for us is the games themselves, and whatever work we can afford to put into it. How about you?
It's a it's a painful experience. No.
Sometimes it can be. Uh, go back and look at some of the.
Everyone wants to freaking burn you. The freaking fans want to burn you for having a bad opinion, or developers want to burn you for having a bad opinion. Everyone wants to burn you.
And the sad part of it is we're the ones that aren't being paid directly.
And even
So
the advertisers want to burn you. Okay, so
It's the review. Let's make a barbecue out of the reviewer.
yeah.
well, we're the ones where the reviewers are the ones that face the public most often. Um, a public, there are people that go up over the heads of the reviewers to try and burn publishers. Electronic Arts, we're looking at you. Activision, you too. Can you name it? Well, a lot of the AAA publishers are getting a lot of heat for what they had the role they had putting a bunch of loot boxes everywhere. You know, Destiny 2. Uh, Anybody remember Star Wars Battlefront 2? It didn't make my list because I didn't get to play it this last year. But if I had, it would have ranked right at the top. Um, you know, Beyond shenanigans of that kind. Um, what constitutes a review? What actually constitutes a reviewer? Someone that's giving an opinion that is either unpaid in the case of most of us, where most of the YouTube folks, which is where
You are
most of the people
robotic.
go. Oh, sorry. Which
You
is
are
where
robotic.
most of the people seem to go to get their actual reviews rather than the mainstream gaming media. Give me just a second. All right. That should be better. Okay.
Okay. So you were
I,
was this question?
I'm actually just providing some. Okay. Um. So let's talk to the people that actually that might review this game. I wouldn't review this game to save my life. Why? It's my damned game. I wouldn't do it. It just would not happen. That, as far as I'm concerned, is an ethical situation. Okay, but what would you say about this game here?
I'd cover it because generally I like visual novels. I like colorful cat games, and the screenshots are quite colorful, and it's got my attention.
Okay, that's good. You actually have a copy of the game at this point, so. And this one, and even then, this one here is Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux. So you wouldn't even have people going, Linux port when? That wouldn't happen. Is this going to come out on Mac? Yes, it was already produced and set up for Mac. We have a Mac edition, we have a Windows edition, and we have a Linux version.
You still have the people asking for trading cards and stuff though, so don't worry.
Well, I'm not going to see trading cards. Wouldn't do me any good to work up trading cards. It really wouldn't, not yet. Because there's actually a limit to when trading cards would even be available through Steam.
How many units of a game has to be sold for the cards?
Steam keeps that information very close to the vest, as far as I know.
Mm.
There's no, yeah, it's after a certain threshold which isn't really disclosed. There's nothing's really said about it.
In other words, when Steam when Valve is damn good and ready to let you.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there are some $1 games some of the cheap
Yeah.
shit $1 games that get there. Most of them don't these days, which makes quite a bit of sense. The other thing we'd have to work the only other thing the thing that I would have to go back and work on would be achievements, and we really don't have very many of those. And there wouldn't be for a game like this. There wouldn't be very many, probably 5 or 6. You know,
It's achievements which sell games now. 3,000 achievements in 10 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
no. What I would do, see, if I really wanted to increase the playtime on this particular game, there would be one for a good ending, one for a bad ending, uh, it'd be one for each ending that you could actually achieve. Some of which are actually quite hard to find, and I forget exactly where some of them are myself.
I,
Uh,
I got a I got a question for you though.
Hit me.
So this game takes 5 minutes playing through it, right? So I
Yeah,
play through it once 5 minutes, and then I get a refund.
you know what? That's honestly that would be between the consumer and the publisher. But the idea of putting achievements up so that you could to kind of draw people out in the playtime, that would probably be a good place to start. For example, trying a hidden achievement to try, uh, kind of one of those ultimate achievement things where you'd actually have to work at it would be to try every single option. Uh,
The
as far
ultimate
as
Nako-chan.
ultimate Neko-chan. Actually, I probably call it "damn that fish," but or "damn that food," because there's one incredibly common bad ending wherein Neko-chan winds up in the pond at least 3 times.
For Nako-chan.
There's another where you go where poor Neko-chan she winds up back in the house with a full bowl of kibble and puts up with it. There's one ending in which she can go to the freaking pound. And believe me, that in and of itself was, yeah, go for it, please. And then
Do you remember how many ends?
there's only 4 endings.
And
There's
four
only four
endings?
endings. There are
Mm.
3 endings which have very specific
Mm-hmm.
um, I have very specific conditions, and one, the most common, I should say, is the kind of Wile E. Coyote ending. Done, you've screwed all the pooch, and you know 3 strikes and you're out. After a while, it after after a while the fish just isn't worth it any damned more, and that's where Neko-chan takes a bath 3 times, kind of almost like a life system.
Okay. I'm paying 50 cents for your game.
Oh, come on. Half, you know what? Actually, half the comedic value for this particular game lies in what Neko-chan calls things.
The puns.
Well, she's
Yeah.
out in the middle of a snowy backyard. That's where she is. But she refers to it not as the backyard. She refers to it as the white.
Mm. That's racist.
It's not, because the ground is white. Doesn't anybody sweep up out here? There's also the catalog,
Hmm.
and that shit actually turns out to be. There's all kinds of ways to screw yourself with that catalog. But if you get the right things, you can. And there's God, what? There's more than 100 different combinations for the catalog of objects you can get out of the catalog, assuming that you get the maximum of 2. If you and then there's like 10 or 11 objects in there to begin with. So I don't remember exactly how many there are. Somebody can count them for me if they want to. But yeah, and we've actually just kind of naturally moved on to the consumer section. I've been talking developer for the last little while because I know what the game is, and you know, I should think that one for each ending, one achievement for each ending, um, one for some particularly hilarious yet rare situation, and then one for actually having tried everything,
Hmm.
saw every possible option. And that's going to take some people. Achievement hunters are going to take a while getting to that. That'd be kind of the way I would stretch that out. Um, what do you got there? Okay. So, what do you think of that setup for achievements there, Meownic?
Yeah.
Would it work or not?
Probably not.
You think the frustration level might get a little extreme?
Well, yeah, most people probably do like 15 minutes and then get a refund. I would.
Well,
I abuse that refund. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't expect all that many
So,
refunds, to be honest. Probably because it's something that you could pick up and put away and pick up and put away and pick up and put away, and it's the same thing every time. You'd be able to start from your out save and from your after the beginning save and just go explore. Because your first option to your first ability to really the first location you want to do a save would be right after you pick up the catalog, but before you use it. Because if you use it first, then you're going to be stuck. You have to go through the intro again. The intro itself is like 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how long you. Might be 3 or 4 minutes, depending on how long it takes you to read. It's short. It did the thing. So on the consumer level, I think pretty much everybody can answer questions on this one. Um, what what kind of if you got this game in your hands, what would you be thinking there, Anne?
um, my measure is how much fun I'm having with a game.
Well,
Uh,
I know I went for comedy on purpose.
And I'm not saying just laughing. It's enjoying playing it.
Mm.
And for example, I'm currently dealing with a controller gone wrong because I bought a generic Xbox thingy. So, for example, I have a frustration playing certain games, and obviously the performance is affected. And uh, besides, there are games that I just don't play because I know that I will suck at them. So it generates frustration. So I choose games that will mostly be fun for me.
Mm. Okay.
Sometimes I choose games that I would like to watch you play, not me specifically, but this is a different kind of combination that is not the average consumer.
Yeah, that would be
But
that's an entirely different
basically,
sort of bet.
yeah. I buy the game, you have access to my library, and I watch you play instead of me playing the game.
Right.
These games are don't even go to the review key. It's just games for fun.
Oh, we've actually done some. We've actually
Um,
some of them have actually wound up on the review queue. Um,
yeah.
Particularly those that we want to get a look at anyway, and
Mhm.
some shit went down someplace else. Okay, how about you, Meow?
I'd think, what's gone so wrong in my life that I ended up with this game? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, at this point, you would have to have paid for it. So, assuming, of course, that that my publisher didn't blast 50,000 keys out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, the publisher could have just undercut both you and Steam by putting the keys directly onto third party sites. There you go. And then took all the money and then just left you in a hole.
Well, if I found out that was going on, I would have some very strong words in the form of review the freaking publisher. Oi. And if I wasn't the one that if I wasn't doing it, if I wasn't in a position where I had an audience, I'd probably tell someone that is. Uh, hey, this guy ripped me off. Maybe you should look into it and see if he ripped off anybody else.
I mean, all you really probably got to do is tell Valve, and then they'll just blast me from the face of the planet Earth anyway. So
Really?
it's all good.
That's a new one. I did not know that was even an option.
Well, it's money, you see,
Yeah.
money and Valve.
Well, yeah, I would think. Um, there are a few
Speaking
puzzles.
of money, and blasting people off the face of the earth, uh, the just to reinforce something, uh, the keys that are given to review, they are not to be counted as part of your revenue. They are to be counted as part of your investment.
Correct
No,
or incorrect?
I just, well, instead it's just keys sent out in the chance that the reviewer will cover the game and then help get sales. I mean, that's really all there is to it.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. On the
So,
other, there
It
is
doesn't.
it's a means to an end, but basically they have to be in the budget for promotion.
I wouldn't really say so. They cost nothing to generate, so I mean, there's nothing really
Hmm.
lost.
Hmm.
but even then,
Yeah.
that would be a sale. If a reviewer is in the habit of buying games, you send him a key, he won't buy the game.
I mean, chances are a reviewer ain't gonna buy a game anyway. So I mean, what
Not
are
if
the
it's,
chances of a reviewer going to the store page and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this game"?
and then we're going to review it.
So
Yeah,
basically, these review keys, they don't hurt the
no, no,
sale, and they
no.
can potentially improve them.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
if it goes to like you or Crocosquirrel and you make a review, more people know about the game, so that increases the chances of people buying the game.
Hmm.
Well, once again, the consumer is a
Okay.
fickle beast. Sometimes they change. Sometimes they change their minds about what kind of games they like. you know, even so.
It's all very interesting, that's for sure. But there's definitely no sales lost by giving out free keys to
Mm-hmm.
reviewers and stuff. In any cases, it's more of a case of if they cover the game, then it's going to increase my sales, which is great. If they don't, then chances are they won't play it anyway or even buy it anyway. So
Yeah. I think this was the most important question. So the keys cost basically the review keys cost nothing,
yeah, and
and they
they're
can
just free
and they
exposure.
can increase the sales. Yeah, for exposure. Yeah.
The keyword
Thank you
to
for
us
this
is just
information.
yeah, it's exposure. That's really it. You want to try and
Mhm.
expose your game to as many people as possible. That's all it is.
Okay. Also, I know for a lot of places, channel size the size of the outlet makes a considerable difference. How much is that? How much would that factor into your calculations, for example?
Well, for me personally, I don't think as long as people are actually making content. I mean, you always do background research. If you don't do background research and you send it to someone hoarding keys, then you're at fault in the first place, right?
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
not doing your background. But for me personally, I don't have a problem with the size of anybody. If you've got 50 subscribers, chances are there's 50 more people that I wouldn't have reached in the first place with the game.
hmm or you get something the size of Jim Sterling, and if it's not a AAA game, he won't touch it.
Well, the more
Yeah.
people you get it out to,
If you
the more
keep
chances of your game being covered, especially if it's good. And if it's good, then you're gonna have good sales.
hmm
okay. Anything else?
Any comment? Any additional comments from you? Anything that you think that we may have missed there, Kitty or
I
Mister
think we
Kitty?
pretty much
Uh, Mr. Kitty.
kitty kitty meow. Right. I think we pretty much covered up all the bases here.
hmm So, how about you? How about you, Anne?
I think we covered all the process. So there was a game that was made and how it would be hypothetically promoted by Mr. Kitty, and the
Who is
opinion of
responsible for
the
what costs is another thing.
also the publisher is responsible for lots of costs, and the reviewer's opinion and consumers' opinions. I think we had all bases covered.
hmm So, a conclusion is was Mister Heed or Hede or whatever the hell he wants, however the hell he wants that pronounced. Is that a thing where he should have done what he did in any way, shape, or fashion, and if so, under what conditions?
May I say something?
Go ahead.
Hmm.
I think Valve Steam definitely needs to stop the open door. Well, the doors are wide open. Because of that, there's amateur developers who have their own way of working who ain't experienced, such as he, who pull these stupid stunts which wouldn't have been done. Any other professional people wouldn't have done that in the first place. So he's gone and done this. Then the uninformed general public who think is wise have come in with their opinion as well, which was just it's wrong. We don't do this. We give you keys in the hopes of you covering games. That's the answer in a professional way.
hmm
We don't expect coverage within X amount of days or anything like that.
Well,
My job is to make sure my relations with the media are strong, and in the hopes that over time they'll develop, and then you'll cover every single one of the game I give you because we're
mhm.
friends.
Okay.
That's really it.
There is actually there's one more. Oh, give how about we give the kids an explanation of what an embargo date is and why people seem to agree with them.
I think most that's like another catch-22. It's it's a deep answer. Um, so let's say I got a game releasing in a month's time, and you have about 1,000 reviewers. Um, you set an embargo for a day before release so they can all kind of have time to play the game, and you hope that upon setting that embargo release, that it will also give maximum a maximum blast to a range every release the same day, so that more people can see about it. But there's also embargoes for stopping you from spoiling the game, and it's really just there's no kind of answer for an embargo.
Maybe
Some
this
people
is
have them.
maybe this is a topic we should come back after in a couple of weeks.
It's in depth, and I mean a lot of it there is no actual facts behind. It's just a case of just people how they feel. And that's really it. Do embargoes work? We have no idea.
Well, it sounds like something deeper than we want to get into right this instant.
Yeah.
So I think we'll if you want to come back in a couple of weeks when you have some time, we can sit down and talk about that, which would be fun. I think. Is knowing what the logic is behind them is actually a thing that would be helpful.
Yeah, the behind the scenes, it's
I have lots of viewpoints for them all as well and answers, so yeah, we can definitely do that.
All right.
Wow.
I
guess we did.
I'm guessing we're pretty much done here. If anybody has a product shot, then they're welcome to deliver it now. Mr. Heat is not. Mr. Heat.
I actually have an observation about Mr. Heat's head's behavior. I would say that in the world that lives on the assumption of entitlement, yes, he is entitled to revoke his keys and be deemed a fucking asshole. But by all means, wanna revoke the keys, contact the people, make an announcement, and then revoke the fucking keys if you must absolutely do so because you are butthurt that nobody reviewed your game.
Well, it would probably have helped if his game didn't look like shit.
I mean, in the long run, the only thing he's done is hurt himself, and that's it.
Because it boils down to, can he do it? Yes, he can do. Anyone can do this. But if you want to do some damage control, be transparent.
Be transparent. Tell us about it first. Come on. Don't do the thing and then leave us hanging as to why you did it, and then wait several days to put up an announcement. How long after the keys were revoked did the announcement go up?
It was. I would be honest. It was actually pretty much straight away. So, but I had to dig to get to it. I had to go to the store page just to find it. Now there was no, as I said, no communication or nothing. But the only reason I got so rolled up was actually because I could see that it was hurting himself, not because it was hurting me. I mean, I already moved on from it now. But this year was like me trying to bring back in my mind into what went on. But I've got more games. I just move on to developers who deserve the attention, and people like that just get stuck behind in the past and don't really, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with him. I'll never cover his games, and he's lost out on sales. He's got negative press. And that's it. So yeah, good job.
Because contrary to popular belief, bad press is actually worse than no press. Trust me.
No, bad press is bad press.
Yeah, you might get a small spike in sales initially, but later on down the line, no one's going to talk to you. It's a quick way to make yourself persona non grata all the way around. And again, in my opinion, had he communicated this first, I probably would never have heard of the problem. And even if I had, I would have blown it off. Because that was the first
Yeah,
question I
that's
asked
what.
you. When you brought this to me, Meownic, that was the first question I asked. Did he tell you about it in advance?
Yeah, and I said nope, which he didn't.
It's only an issue because of the lack of transparency, communication, and overall shittiness of the games.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
if you're really curious, you just say, "Hey, I sent you a review key 1 month ago. Could you, please just see what stage you're on? Do you have any plans for it? If you don't, that's fine. Just let me know. And if you don't,
yeah,
I'd let you keep the key anyway. Then I don't see the point of revoking them. There's no point.
It doesn't cost it. It didn't cost you anything in the end. And if your shit doesn't get covered, it's probably because they're not interested in playing it.
And again, it's an early access. I think people missed out this point. It's an early access game. He's got free early access games because he just wants to make money. He ain't gonna finish them. I'm calling it out right now. But early access games, they're gonna be constantly developed, apparently, supposedly. So what's to stop me from the further line saying, "Oh, he's made an update now. Now I can actually cover the game," but I can't because he's revoked the key. So it's just fucking dumb.
I don't
It's
think he's.
dumb.
I don't think he's. It's been 6 weeks since Heroes of Hex was released. I don't think they've even bothered.
No,
He's
as I
bothered with it.
said, he's
Um,
just another one of those low end amateurs who just want to make an easy buck. They don't give a fuck. They
you
don't
know, and
care.
yeah.
then who knows if I had a key for Heroes of Hexal again, and it hadn't been revoked, I'd, you know, 5 or 6 months down the line, you might see a little spike in sales when I go, well, okay, let's give this a go.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be in your library, so it's always going to have you're always going to have access to it.
Actually, keep a review queue. If I don't have anything that's really pressing or going to be really super interesting to the kids that watch my shit, then I can always bring in. I can start cycling through the review queue and just keep pushing. Means I still have work to do, whether they've got whether I've gotten anything recently or not. And I will be honest with you, I've seen there have been places uh, there have been games I've been rejected for. I've gone out and bought them strictly for the purposes of having a go at them.
Well, I think the bottom line is that basically it all falls down to just Valve allowing anybody with to just be on there with no experience and stuff. And again, with no experience comes blunders like this. So I really think Valve needs to change. Steam Direct isn't working. Revoking the trading cards ain't working.
They just need to. What they need to do is they need to get a curate. They need to get a proper curation team together,
Yeah,
and whether they want to work with the consumers on that a little bit, or work with with industry professionals, or better yet, both. Um, then maybe that's the thing they could do. But we have long since run out of time, so
yeah.
I think we're going to fold this up for a little. We're going to fold this up. We'll come back to it another time. We'll come back to. We'll have you back another
To
time. We'll talk about
the
things like embargo dates and stuff.
we left open the question of early access and embargoes. We could talk about this at another opportunity.
Hmm.
Yep.
All right. So I
So
want to thank Meownic here for turning up. It is much
Thank you too.
appreciated, sir. Sorry I've
yes,
taken up quite as much of your time as I have. I know I hadn't intended for it to go quite that long, but hey, we got some good information out of it,
yeah.
so that's at least a place to start.
Yep.
Much appreciate
Thanks
you
a lot
coming,
for showing up.
and we will look forward to seeing you again to talk about things like early access and embargo dates and what Steam can do to fix itself.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. Thanks for having me as well. Been fun.
Not a problem. You are certainly welcome anytime.
Super.
Even if what you want to do is come add to the blast in some game that you think is really cool, go in and play it. And all right then.
So,
Between now and the next time we see you, be safe, be sane.
and let's make games fun again. See
See ya.
ya.